He is the reigning Pac-12 Coach of the Year in 2022. Oregon State football quarterback from back in the day. Pride of Corvallis then, as he is right now, the head coach of the football program there, Jonathan Smith. Kind enough to call into the Rich Eisen Show. How are you, Coach?
Yeah, I'm doing great, Rich. Thanks for having us.
You bet. I just definitely wanted to kick the tires on what's going on there right now, what's going through your mind and the program. But first, I do want to hit the Wayback Machine a little bit with you. And, how did a kid from Pasadena wind up in Corvallis back in the day for you?
Yeah, that is quite a while ago. But it was a little bit, I was down there, I had a high school teammate getting recruited by Oregon State, and through that evaluation, they kind of put eyes on me, invited me to walk on at the time. And I know I wanted to get into coaching, and I felt like that was the highest level I could get to really learn about it. And so got up here with a guy named Mike Riley, was the head coach at the time.
I've heard of him.
And he, promised that I get an opportunity to compete, and a couple years later ended up playing and having a great time.
Now, no question about it. What did you glean from Coach Riley and Erickson? You want to talk about guys who you could learn stuff from? You certainly did that.
Yeah, I did a ton. I mean, both of them definitely, personalities are different, ways of doing things are different, but schematically, offense, both of them really, really sharp, learned a ton, and they had some really good coaches around them. My first quarterback coach was Paul Christ, who had a nice run there at Wisconsin, and learned a ton from him, and that was really what I was looking for. So all of those guys impacted my coaching career a ton.
I'm sure. And so when it's all said and done, do you sometimes catch yourself and it's like, oh gosh, I sound like Coach Riley. I sound like Coach Erickson. Anything like that? Do you catch yourself?
Yeah, on occasion. Yeah, on occasion, those guys. I worked with Chris Peterson for a long time. He had a huge influence, and so I sound like him. You're always trying to own your own voice, but those guys, again, impacted, and I learned a ton. So when I sound like them, I take it with pride.
And I understand as well that, the coaching mantra that you can only control what you can control the controllables, however you want to say it, is definitely a default position. But I am wondering how the latest news to come out of the Pac-12 has hit you and your football program. Coach.
Yeah, there's no question that mantra, controlling what we can control. It's not easy to do, but ultimately it is our only option right now. And that's what actually it's been nice. The last 3 weeks going through training camp, preparing for a season, day to day with our players, focused on the task at hand. That's been almost an escape from all of this. And it is ultimately out of our control. We feel good about this team, the roster we have, and the season that's certain in front of us. And then through this uncertainty, once it finally plays itself out and there's some certainty of what it looks like for Oregon State moving forward, then we can, process that and make a plan moving forward.
Well, have you addressed this? Did you call the team together en masse? What have you done with the team on this subject matter?
Well, we addressed it early on in camp, and same thing, controlling what we can control. What we feel really good about, this current roster, this staff, the chance we have this season, and that's our complete focus. So we set the stage early in camp. I think we addressed it one other time about a week ago. And now, potentially breaking news today. We anticipated news going to break, but again, it goes back to this mantra of controlling what we can and focused on the task at hand.
And so how do you think the kids have handled it?
I think it's felt great in regards to the practices are normal, focus, meetings, work ethic. And I kind of say it this way, in this day and age of college football with the transfer portal, I think everyone's reevaluating come December, January, their situation, each individual player. Coaches are doing it, and now schools are doing it. And so I don't see it that different to come December. Everyone's going to reevaluate and sort it all out. We just want to stay focused on these next 4 months.
And so, does it piss you off? I'll just come out and ask you point blank.
Oh, there's moments. There's no question. I get some bitterness. You mentioned it. I grew up in Pasadena. I grew up going to the Rose Bowl and Pac-12 versus Big Ten games. This will be my 17th season in the Pac-12 as a player or a coach. Yeah, I got some deep roots here and really pride of West Coast football and knowing all the schools and all that. So, yeah, I got some bitterness the way this is all played out. Ultimately, I see it's a business side, and currently we're playing musical chairs and we don't got a chair to sit on.
Well, I'm just wondering as well, do you use this as a rallying cry for the season?
I don't know if I get hammered a ton with our guys. These guys are motivated. They want to win. They want to play well. And just because it's out of our control how this is playing out. Well, the players we're playing against, it's out of their control too. It's not like they made these calls or something. So I don't use it a ton on the motivation side. I think there'll be guys in our locker room that it might be a huge motivation for them. But as a program, we've built this thing to where we got a chance to compete at a really high level. And we're focused on doing that.
Yeah, you do, Jonathan Smith. There's no question that you do. And the reason why I'm not saying like, hey, let's do this, for the Pac-12. I'm saying, hey, heart of hearts, where's Oregon State going to wind up? And you're hearing about Stanford and Cal maybe winding somewhere with the ACC, or maybe the Big Ten goes and gets them, and you and Washington State might be left without a chair. And if you go and kick ass in the Pac-12 season, the final one, then maybe you can open some eyes and get a home that you might not otherwise have. Coach, is that a fair assessment?
I mean, you'd like to think if we can play really well, and that's back to what we can control. And so that's what we're focused on. We're preparing. We got a non-conference schedule first, and we're locked in on that. And then again, it's out of our control how this thing plays out. But we're playing this season for this current 23, Beaver locker room and coaching staff, and then we'll let the dust settle after that.
I've got Jonathan Smith, Oregon State head football coach, here on the Rich Eisen Show. Speaking of transfer portal, you've named a new starting quarterback, have you not, Coach?
Yeah, yep, DJ U, as he goes around a lot of he's done a great job.
Come on now, hold on a second. You once threw to TJ Hushmanzada, which is definitely not a monosyllabic name. Come on now. Come on now, right? So, what do you got? DJ U, right?
DJ Uiagalelei.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
That ain't easy, man. That ain't easy. But I'm sorry. He's an incredibly talented kid that you have there.
Got here in January, dove into just being a part of the locker room, not trying to be the face of the program right away. I think he's gained a ton of respect from the players on the team. He worked really hard. This offensive system is quite a bit different than what he'd been doing before, and so there was a learning curve all the way through spring ball, and then got into fall camp, and you could see his comfort level getting better and better. And he played well. We had a couple of scrimmages that he played at a high level. I think he's won over this team that way. I do think this was pretty competitive. We got a quarterback room with some talent. Ben Goldbrinson, who he beat out last year, went 7-1 as a starter last year for us and pushed DJ in a big way. And we got a freshman, Aiden Childs, that has a lot of talent, and he's played well. And so we've got some options in the room, but DJ's going to go out there first.
So what has the university told you, Coach, about what's being talked about, the future of the program, and what conference you might wind up in? What are you hearing?
Our athletic director, Scott Barnes, I think he's done a great job communicating when there's information. At the same time, when there's uncertainty, he's not taking me in deep into the weeds so I can focus on the task at hand. Obviously exploring different options and what options those are. And so that I just leave it in their hands on Peyton's future. And I appreciate the communication, but until we have some definite clarity, once we have clarity, I'll feel good about making a plan moving forward.
Okay. Do you, at any point in time, when you have a moment alone, maybe driving to work or something, think about how wild it is that you are in a position where you are, and obviously you've been the coach there a while, but at this juncture, to be in this position for such a crucial season for your school after what you did for this school, is there any sense of significance that you have entering this season that stands out to you?
Well, it's significant, yes, with all the movement going on, but it's significant. We're opening up a brand new stadium that we just finished, over $170 million expansion. Mm-hmm. The thing is beautiful. It's going to be rocking. We got an awesome home schedule with a lot of perennials coming in here: Utah, UCLA, UW. And so that's significant that way. we don't. I don't want our players feeling like this thing is bigger than what it is. We're going to line up and play each week and go, but we're definitely excited about the opportunity that this historical season, if it is the last season of the Pac-12 conference, makes me want to puke to even say that. But if it is, we want to play our best and enjoy it.
Then point out to everybody you took the wrong school, right? Every week you go out there. You could do that with your play, right?
We've got an opportunity to play into that narrative, but I'll just say it again, it is about us and what we're going to do. And there's a lot of people that I think want us to do well, and hopefully we turn into a national story, but I don't want to add any pressure to this locker room in regards to living up to different expectations. We got our own expectations, and we're locked in on those.
All right, before I let you go, and I appreciate the time, please provide me with your favorite Chad Johnson story. Please give me your favorite one that you can
Well, I'll just tell you the first time I met him. He come from Santa Monica Junior College. He had to pass a class or two, so he arrives like a day or two before we start practicing in August. And he comes up to me and, I think someone introduced him because I was the quarterback, and he introduces himself and he tells me he's going to buy me a Lexus. And I kind of say, what? He's like, yeah, I'm going to buy you a Lexus because you're going to get me to the National Football League. And I'm still waiting on that Lexus.
He told me he was giving me Debo shoes at 15 Pro Bowls ago, and I'm still waiting on them. So he's on brand. So that's what he told you for when he first met you?
Oh, yeah, he's a beautiful man. He great personality, and obviously he was a really good player, had an awesome NFL career, and did a ton for the one season here. But that's the first time I met him.
What did he tell you in a huddle? TJ's probably in your ear too, right?
TJ was huge for him. because TJ would have been there a year longer. Chad was still learning the formations and the plays and all that. So TJ was his right-hand man, helping him get lined up.
Did Carson Palmer ever call you up and say, how do I deal with these guys? Did that ever happen?
He didn't, man. He probably functioned with them fine and all that. He did not call me for any advice.
I'm just wondering if that had happened. And do you refer to him as Ocho or no? He's always Chad Johnson.
No,
too?
he's Chad. He's Chad to me.
Okay. Coach, thanks for the time. Greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah,
Best of luck.
Guys.
You bet. That's Jonathan Smith, head coach of the Oregon State Beavers. Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern for free.